What's up, YouTube? What's happening? So, I got a chance to watch the history of the funk, the 70s, Black Liberation. What did I think? Whitewash as usual. I was glad to see Marcus Miller up there playing, but um, the James Brown aspect, the Parliament Funkadelic, the Simon Family Stone aspect was on point, but they missed out so much. They jump started to Prince and they used the clip from American 80s. They didn't even talk about the late 70s with Minneapolis. That's the problem. They didn't say anything about Rick James. They didn't say anything about Cameo. They didn't say anything about the Barcades. They skimped on the Ohio players. They just combined Ohio. It was mixed. They didn't really talk about Earth, Wind, and Fire. They didn't talk about the Commodores. They didn't talk about War. They didn't talk about Mandrill. They didn't talk about the Barcades, as I mentioned. Um, they missed out on really hitting about it where they should have. You know, Ricky Vincent, who did a great funk book, and some others that were participants. And I'm tired of seeing Questlove on there. I mean, he's accomplished a bit, but what is you, a musician, historian? What you doing? I mean, you not a journalist per se in that, and you ain't really delved into the funk like that. So, I mean, they hire these hands and these faces. I ain't got a problem with Marcus Miller being there, but they talked about Motown, which gave way to Stax to the sound of Philadelphia, but they did not go in totality about the funk. Didn't really go into the meters. They didn't talk about that. They missed out on talking about they gave you the war down with Parliament Funkadelic. They had talking about hip hop. They always this thing and then sticking Elton John and David Bowie in there who did have big songs and they were on Soul Train, Benny the Jets and Fame. No, that was cool. But the reality is there were acts that you missed out on talking about. You could have talked about Casey and the Sunshine Band Get Down Tonight. You missed out on that. They were doing funk. You missed out on talking about Rufus and Shaka Khan. Shaka Khan is a lead vocalist who led as a female leader in a funk band, never gets her due like that. You missed out on it. You missed talking about Curtis Mayfield with Superfly, the funkness of that. You missed out on Isaac Hayes on Shaft, talking about the funkness of that. You missed out on the Isley Brothers 3+3 era, the funkness of that. If you're going to put these kind of shows together, especially talking about the 70s, you got to get it right or don't mess with it at all. Barry White had some funk in there. Could have talked about that. They missed out on talking about how disco and funk and how people got it mixed up and then the sounds and the grooves and all that. They missed out on that. They missed out on talking about like a Billy Preston's impact with Sly and the Family Stone. Some stuff that Bobby Womack did. They missed out on that. Some Bill Withers, like people that were bringing funk that weren't considered funketeers, but they had funk in their grooves. They missed out on going to that. They missed out on, the jazz funk fruition of how jazz funk was. I'm talking about people like the Crusaders, what Miles Davis was trying to do in the 70s and the offshoots of that with Herbie Hancock's funk with Headhunters and Michael Henderson. See, if you're going to do it, you got to do it right or don't do it at all. You missed out on the Blackbirds and Donald Byrd and that hybrid where Grover Washington Jr. was making attempts to the groove, you know. So, when I mention the Average White Band, if you want to talk about white acts trying to put some groove in what they're doing, Boss Skaggs, Lowdown with that groove, the Rolling Stones, you know, Rod Stewart trying to do it, the attempts, the ones that were trying to get some groove in there. So they missed out. They missed out. Wild Cherry talking about it, talking about the cadence and the grooves. Solar Records, we're talking about how Leon Silvers funked up that sound. When he got to Lakeside, which they showed a clip of, but they didn't go into no depth. I don't like this whitewash mismatch. If you're going to talk about it, get it right or leave it alone because you do a disservice to what people were bringing it. But yeah, you missed out on talking about Rick James's impact big time. You missed out on talking about Chic, who was very interesting how they were the last of one, part of another, and then another. Because Chic had funk elements, disco elements, and then yet they appealed to hip hop and how all that with good times and that whole thing. So they missed out on that. They missed out on Talking about Rolls Royce and Norman Whitfield and that, how that was a flip, you know. How Stevie Wonder had some funk on his 70s records. How Marvin Gaye got to Give It Up had funk. How the old guards who were once so, polished and prim had to adapt to the grooves. So they missed out on that. They missed out on talking about it, talking about Aretha Franklin's Rock Steady, talking about the grooves, talking about, the ones that was putting it on the ground, on the groove. How a cat like Johnny Guitar Watson reinvented himself from being a blues slinger to a funketeer. You missed out on not acknowledging, you know, that aspect. So, talk about Brick, what they did with Daz and that style and that sound. You got to incorporate the whole nine if you're going to do it. You can't just, whitewash and Prince Trust. P-Funk did everything and then talk about James Brown doing everything and Sign of Family Stone. And then you don't go into others because there was a lot of others and there was a lot of impact that was missed on it. So I thought it was a whitewash show. It was cute in the temp and it was nice. Um, didn't even give Michael Jackson his due because the Jackson 5 got funky with Get It Together and I Am Love. And obviously that groove was on Off the Wall. Don't act like Working Day and Night don't be bumping. Don't be sitting up there acting like Get on the Floor ain't bumping. Don't act like Michael didn't have some funk in there too because they had to funk their thing up. And they put some groove in there too. So they missed out on talking about a wide range and it was whitewash. That's my thoughts and takes about it. So I hope they don't do that mess again, and they get some people who can really digest and cover it on a full basis because they it wasn't where it was supposed to be. It was not up to par. That's my personal opinion. Please like, subscribe, welcome thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands. Keep your mind clear. Watch out for another. Share if you like and hit that membership. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay woke, stay free. Ohio is the capital of the funk, by the way. I'm out.